Driving at the posted speed limit in the rain.
No.
Risky is
Risky.
correct. Absolutely right. Not wearing a seatbelt. Risky is correct. Number 3, not adjusting the head restraint. 100%. Driving above the posted speed limit.
Risky.
Yes. Talking or texting on an electronic device while driving.
Risky.
Now, this one here for talking, obviously texting we don't want you to be doing, but what about talking? Still risky. You have usually hands-free mode on newer vehicles. Now, in the event that you have to take a call, we're human, we have to see, in case of an emergency, a call comes by, I would prefer that you pull over. If you're driving on the highway and you have no ability of taking time to pull over on the side of the highway, but you know that you have a call that's very important to you, the method that I want you to do is, again, use your hands-free device on your vehicle, on your steering wheel, answer the call, and I want the call to be brief. I would like you to say, what do you need? Get whatever they get out, spew out whatever it is. And once you get the information that you need or that is useful for you, you can acknowledge it and then say, listen, I'm going to call you back in 15 minutes. I have to find a spot to pull over, and then you can get going. But what I don't want you to do is, after you receive that information, continue the conversation. Because as you continue the conversation, that's when your mind starts trailing into, oh, I had this that I had to talk to you about, answering more questions on your side, and that's where distractions come from. So you are able to take a phone call, not in your work vehicle. I think it's against your policy to do it in a work vehicle in the ambulance, but on your own personal vehicles, you do have the ability to if you have hands-free device, but be responsible with it and don't drag on your conversations to lead to distraction. Whoa! Next one up. Driving in the left lane on a multi-lane highway.
Risky.
Yes, that is correct. Pumping the brake pedal on slick roads.
Proactive.
Risky. So pumping the brakes, also known as cadence braking, big no-no. I don't want you to pump the brakes. I want you to do your threshold brake. Threshold, 3/4 point hold, and then add or give whatever bit you need to get out of that ABS position. Cadence braking was actually the only way that I've ever gotten into a collision in my life. My pop told me, hey, you ever get into a situation where you need to brake? Pump on the brakes, kiddo. I was driving in the winter, it was my first car, and I was stopping at an intersection. I obviously wasn't practicing a good stopping or following distance, and I started to skid. I was going towards this vehicle, and message in my head, I just kept thinking, man, my pop-up, he got me set up for this so well. I started pumping the brakes, blam, I hit the back of the car. I did not stop. I wasn't even close to stopping in time because I was practicing a cadence brake. If I had done a course and I realized that I could do threshold braking, I'm very sure I could have stopped effectively. But cadence braking is the least effective way to brake, and you will almost always hit whatever you're doing. Where cadence braking used to be effective, where pumping the brakes was effective, was with older style vehicles where all of your brakes were drum brakes. For the drum brakes, that is what made sense for cadence braking. But as vehicle technologies improved, as technologies just changed in our rotors and different brake pad formations created in our vehicles, that is when cadence braking was flushed out for the past, and we now do threshold and ABS. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Okay, next one up. We have smoking while driving.
No.
Risky. It doesn't matter what you do. Do not smoke while you're driving. It is risky. Gotta take a drag. Stop the vehicle. Step outside. Because what are you doing with that one hand? Smoking. Got the finger. You might also be duly, or lighting it up with one and then smoking with the other. What is that doing?
Freehand.
It's taking your hands off the position of the steering wheel, and hopefully you're not driving with your knees. Drive with both your hands on the steering wheel. Be nice and safe. Okay. Checking the mirrors every 15 to 20 seconds while driving. Risky. Because when are we supposed to be checking our mirrors?
5 to 7.
5 to 8 seconds. 100%. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Keeping the 3-second following distance on a busy 50-kilometer roadway. Proactive. I would like you to be with more if you have a larger vehicle or conditions are more poor. Reading a map while driving. Risky. If you have to have Google Maps on it, I don't want it to be in your cup holder where you're looking down to see your directions. Where would I prefer it? Mounted somewhere in your windshield that doesn't obstruct your view. Again, I would prefer that you don't have it and you have it just maybe with the audio, but if you have to have Google Maps, put it somewhere that's not obstructing your view, and then you don't have to take your eyes off of the road to kind of get your idea of where your turn is. But it is risky to be reading a map. It's more talking about the classic paper man, which is obviously not safe. Moving your eyes every 2 seconds. Proactive is correct. Steering. Oh wait, I have a whole little thing here. Oops. There we go. Bang on. Future is now. 13. Steering with only one hand on the steering wheel. Risky is correct. Drinking a beverage while driving. Risky, no matter the beverage. If you do have to drink a beverage, what could you do to make it less risky?
Do it at stoplights or red lights?
Yeah, stoplights. When you know that's like a fresh red light, maybe take the opportunity to do it while your vehicle stopped, and you can assess that vehicles are still expected to do. You might have like a 40-second window. That is the time that I would say you could do it. You could still be charged by a police officer if they're having a really bad day, because your vehicle's still in gear and you could technically be charged with distracted driving. So, you know, accept that as a risk. But be safe about it. If you're going to be doing something, be safe about it. Another safe proactive method to do it, a nice little sippy straw, right? One of the little loop-de-loops, right? I have one of those in my car. If I'm ever going to be drinking, I like to have a little fun with it, and I like to be able to not have to cover my face if I need to take a drink. I have my little sippy straw, and it makes me feel good when I sit through it. I also have the right amount without having to take my focus off the road, right? 100%. Perfect. Using cruise control on dry rural roads. Risky or proactive? Proactive is what they have on this book here. Now, I don't want you to activate your cruise control if you're traveling on a gravel road, because we're dealing with loss of traction and stuff could happen with your vehicle. Your vehicle could register or not register something correctly. But it's talking about like a paved surface. So you're able to use your vehicle on a paved surface on a rural road. Not doing a vehicle inspection prior to every trip. 100%. Putting passengers under age 12 in the front seat of the vehicle. Putting passengers under the age of 13 in the back of the seat of the vehicle. Proactive, absolutely. They usually have like a little placard on the that says, you know, your kiddo, get to the back type of thing. Even if you're this tall, right? If you're under the age, you're in the back seat. Following 2 seconds behind another vehicle at speeds of 80 kilometers an hour. Risky is correct. Oops. And then checking the blind spot prior to any lateral movements. You guessed it, proactive, 100%. Now we have our SIFT system coming up next in our Smith system. So our search, identify, predict, decide, execute, bless you. We all know what this means, what this is like. I would like you to practice it at every point that you can. Just remember the method. Remember your intention and what the outcome of this method is for, and that's to keep yourself out of any harm's way or putting other people out of harm's way. Now we're going to talk about fault versus responsibility. So we're going to be watching a video. I want you to identify who is at fault. This is going to be on page 20. So if there was a collision, who would be at fault, and what risks does each driver take? We're going to watch this video. This is in Calgary. Do you need to watch that video again before you make your decision? Everyone's good? Okay. So now, who is at fault?
I'll say both.
Both? Okay. And why?
It's supposed to be 50-50 share.
50-50 shared responsibility in Alberta. In Alberta, in those situations, it is the responsibility of who? What is the responsibility of the car? Signal. Did that guy have a signal on?
No.
No, he did not have a signal on. What else is the responsibility of the car?
Get up to proper speed.
Get up to proper speed and
Find their openings.
find their opening 100%. What's the responsibility of the vehicle or the truck? To let them in. To adequate space for them. Was that truck correctly adequating space,
No.
would you say? At the beginning of the video, you can see that he had a lot of speed coming into that. And then he also didn't leave space behind the vehicle. He was like bumper to bumper pretty much, which closed off that space for the vehicle. If that truck had identified maybe creating a space, because even though that car was in the wrong, it's still our responsibility to kind of share and not create obstructions on the road. If they had done their due diligence and just backed off just slightly, maybe that car could have gone in. Now that car is not completely off the hook because no signals provided. They were following quite closely to the vehicle that was merging onto the highway. which is not setting themselves up for success, right? So maybe if I'm acknowledging, I remember that turnoff. It's puny, it's runty. I used to work there in that area. And you have very little space to come up to speed, and your shoulder, you can't shoulder check very well because of the overpass that's nearby as well as a sign. So recipe for disaster, but this driver in the red car could have prevented that from being any worse by offering more space behind the white car. Because if you don't have a lot of runway space and you don't have a lot of visibility, you want to keep that lane open so that you can come up to speed and that you're not obstructed by the other vehicle making their merge. So shared responsibility, did not reduce speed to let car in, and didn't increase speed or plan for the merge, and did not use their left their signal. Now we have the last clear chance rule. I think we've watched this video, but we're going to reset. We're going to watch it again. Sorry, what is the last clear chance rule? We're going to talk about it, obviously, but like, what is it?
It's if you can prevent an accident.
Plain and simple. If you can prevent it, even though you are in the right, it's better to just be right than dead right. Don't drive into that car that took away your right of way. Don't drive into the intersection when you're noticing that cars are still making left turns after a red. Even though there are like 3 cars in that line that are not supposed to be there, don't gun it and try to get into a T-bone incident. Wait for those cars to completely clear. Don't get yourself in a collision, because what comes with a collision? CRC, reports, potentially demerits, depending on what your actions were. You could be held liable. But here we have the last one. Ah, come on. Okay. Knock it off.
Many drivers are unaware of the last clear chance rule. Last clear chance means, as a driver, having the last chance to avoid a collision. Let's have a look at a scenario. You're at an intersection waiting for a red light to change. You notice a vehicle on the cross street is advancing very quickly. The traffic signal turns green. If you start to move immediately into the intersection and the vehicle is still moving quickly through the intersection, you could get hit. However, if the traffic signal turns green and you let the vehicle continue through the red light before you go, you've avoided a collision and the possibility of a civil liability suit by using the last clear chance rule.
This is a common situation with the civil liability in court. Lawyers use this a lot. They say, yes, my client was in the wrong, crossed a red light, but why doesn't that driver acknowledge the road? Why didn't they do their scan, which they're supposed to do before entering the roadway? Even if they have right of way, they're supposed to check. Do you remember the, what was it called? Hazard perception in the simulator. You have a green light. You're expected to do your 50 kilometers through that intersection, but what happened at each point? Something. And that something could happen on your roads every single day. And we are not commonly slowing down or using the brake pedal or predicting that something's going to take place. It's usually a surprise. So acknowledging and doing that scan, left, center, right, left, to make sure that that intersection is completely clear before proceeding is absolutely important, because it gives you an opportunity to make the right call, the right decision for the right situation. Then we have the definition between fault and responsibility. So at fault is an example of a traffic violation and a driving error, and then the responsibility of that driver is to avoid that collision and being proactive on that roadway, assessing ahead of time. Any questions on that? Splurge, yes?
Why he waits for the right turn on the red signal? Why does this car is real waiting for the turn for the right? I don't understand.
For
Yeah.
the last clear chance?
Mm-hmm.
So let's walk through. Let me
Let's have a look
see.
at
Yeah.
there's a vehicle
Why?
on the cross street.
Why is he waiting?
Yeah.
It's a good proactive habit to wait. And many other provinces like Quebec, it is against the law to take a right turn at a red light. Depending on the province that you're at, there's different rules. In Alberta, you're able to make a right turn on a red, but what do you have risk of? Like our example, a vehicle coming through too fast, maybe you didn't scan properly. What if there's lots of pedestrians or cyclists that are going by?
Mhm.
We always want to stop, make sure it's clear before we proceed. This driver, it's a hypothetical situation. It's just trying to show what happens if a driver passes on a red light and you have the green, right?
Traffic signal, turn.
So light turns green, you're proceeding forward, you're expected to go right, but you're watching for that vehicle that's coming towards you that is clearly not stopping. If you notice that it's clearly not stopping, you wait. Because why would you get into a collision? Why would you risk your well-being just to prove a point, just to be in the right? There's
Okay,
no point.
thank you.
Then we have the common traffic violations and collision prevention. So we have a book that the instructors, myself, and many driving schools use, which is called the Traffic Safety Act. It's all of our references. In that Traffic Safety Act, we have the use of the highway rules and road regulations, operator licensing and vehicle control regulations, as well as vehicle equipment regulation. We have that twice because of how important it is. Main thing is, in a Traffic Safety Act, you're gonna have all of that nice information. Yes, it's all there. Free online. If you wanna get a paper copy, it's like $80. So if you're ever wanting to get any information, you can get it online, just to confirm anything that you have on your ambulances, on your personal vehicles, like what color of headlights that you're allowed to put on your vehicle, because you're not just allowed to slap on whatever color. What type of tinting, what type of buckles or seatbelts are required for like older vehicles compared to newer vehicles. Some older vehicles didn't come with them. Did you know that if you want to add on an older vehicle that has no seatbelts, if you want to add one seatbelt to the driver's side, then you are required to install all seatbelts on all other seats as well. There is no one or the other. So as soon as you add a seatbelt in, now whenever you're getting inspected, all of the other seats need to be checked or you're getting a ticket. But knowing those rules and those regulations, you can find them on the Traffic Safety Act, but it is a lot of jargon. So the easier way to go through it is by that little image there with the driver's guide, Alberta Driver's Guide, which can be found at the AMA registries or online as well for free. This is a much simpler way to get your information for what is expected of you. It only has the use of the highway rules and road regulations and the operator licensing and vehicle control regulations. It does not contain the vehicle equipment regulation. Make sense? Bang on. Now we're going to be talking about left turns at intersections. So, let me go back to that story. What potential risks or hazards can you identify, and what predictions and decisions can you make? So I'm going to pause the video every now and again and just kind of ask you some questions. So, as we're approaching a turn, what can you identify? What is weird about this scenario? Or what is different? Is there anything that you would do differently if you were the driver ahead of our POV driver?
Pull down the intersection for him.
Pull into the intersection a little bit more. He's right on the crosswalk. What can this position cause you to do if you're ever in a turn? Why do we move further into the intersection?
Delay the time it takes you to get into that left turn.
Bingo bango, right there. So right now this driver is probably going to be affected in some way by their ability to pick up their speed or being able to maybe even see past the vehicle that's potentially in front of them. I don't have the POV ahead of that vehicle, but we can take that in. Watch the rest of the video. Contact. Now, we know about the position of the vehicle, but now that the vehicle has moved, what can we see that that car was also dealing with?
Can't see, it's a blind turn.
100%. Vehicles ahead could potentially be obstructing, which could affect their turn. What is a proper what is a proper situation or proper method when you have an obstruction ahead of you and you can't see past that vehicle?
Just wait.
That's it. Just wait. You can wait for that yellow light to go through, or until those other vehicles move through, until you have a better idea of what's on that roadway. Now, some people say that that driver made that turn and they saw a signal with a vehicle coming towards you, had a right signal active. And because they saw that right signal active, that vehicle made that left turn. how many times have you seen someone put their right signal and continue straight?
Often.
Often. It's a very often thing to do. It's
Yeah.
a very common mistake. Usually this mistake comes also through just lane changing, maybe 5 to 10 meters away from the intersection line. If you do this, recognize that it could be difficult for traffic that's facing you to properly identify what your intentions are, because sometimes there's a delay before a signal even turns off. So they may be saying a signal from you, saying that you're going to be taking a right, but your intention is to go straight, monitor traffic making that left turn so they don't predict or they don't try to assume what you're trying to be doing on that roadway. In all cases, you're also looking for vehicle position and characteristics. If you see the tires moving to the right side of the road, or if you see the vehicle crest a line for a right-only lane, identify that. Utilize that for your best individual skill to identify what that road is going to be doing. But that isn't all the video here. And this is showing the rest of the video of the POV. So the POV driver creeping forward, most likely having a bit more of a view past that car, and then once the vehicle fully moves and there's a view, now they proceed because they just saw someone get into a collision. He doesn't want to do the same thing. But that's their left turns at the intersection. So left turns are one of the most leading causes of collisions. Now, one thing I want you to make sure, if you see another driver do it, make a suggestion to possibly change this habit. If you do it yourself, make sure to catch it for yourself as well. And that's hook steering. If you practice a hook steer, so that's on the bottom of the steering wheel, whenever you're completing a left turn, I want you to be very careful in these situations. Do you know why? Loss of control could be affected. Your hand could get in the way, but that's not the main reason for me. Do you have your hand up or no?
No.
Okay. The reason why I don't want you to hook steer is in the event of a left turn. If you have that hook steer going on and you get into a collision, which is a very high probability of a collision, if that airbag deploys and your hand is on the underside of the steering wheel, it's deploying at a very high rate and it could fracture your arm or potentially worse. Be careful of the situation. So if you notice that you have a driver around you that's practicing, just put in a good word and just say, have you considered that risk? If they haven't, explain to them you want to see their hands are nice and safe, clear for the situation. That's it. Now we're going to talk about following distance. We know a ton about following distance. Watch the video briefly. Oh, my favorite video. Here we go. Oh yeah.
Most of us don't even realize we're tailgating until it's too late. Tailgating is the #1 driving error resulting in casualty collisions in the province. It causes about 9 collisions every day in Alberta, all entirely preventable. Are you a failgater? That's what we call drivers
there we go.
who follow too closely. If you're inside this zone, you're failgating. To avoid the failgating zone, ease up and follow the 3-second rule. Pick a landmark, wait until the back of the car in front of you passes it, then count 1001, 1002, 1003. If you pass the landmark in less than 3 seconds, you're failgating. Nothing good ever happens when you follow too closely. So remember, pick a landmark, count 3 seconds, and adjust your distance from the car ahead. Together, we can all get to where we want to go safely.
I can almost picture the drip of this video. I can imagine what I was wearing at this time, and it is sick. Don't failgate, plain and simple. Don't be an epic fail, bro. That's it. Don't failgate, be 3+ seconds above. We know how to find that distance. Make sense?
Yep.
100%. Sweet. We're going to be going to our common traffic violations next. So it's going to be on page 22, please. So, on page 22, we have our first question. When do you think it's okay to complete a U-turn? Whoa. Do any of you guys complete U-turns? What do you do? What do you do in place of U-turns? What do you do instead?
Go around the block.
Good stuff. I love that. Any other strategies?
Just doing.
Just don't do it. But what do you do if you have to turn around? So circle the block. I love it. Absolutely. Anything else?
If you have to, just do it.
No, don't just do it. It's terrible. Don't just do it. Another strategy I use is maybe going to a parking lot, going to the stall, backing up, and exiting out of the way that I entered from, possibly. You are not allowed to complete a U-turn at a light-controlled intersection, so a traffic light, unless there is a sign that specifies that you are able to do so. That's going to be a U-turn symbol with a green circle. You are also not allowed to complete a U-turn in the middle of an intersection. You've probably seen so many drivers do it. Don't do that. Do you know why we don't do that?
Why?
Our view could be potentially obstructed with vehicles coming off as we're making our turns. We're also dealing with the center of roadways, more narrow points of the roadway. Usually at intersections, you're gonna have a wider road to use, so your U-turns might be safer in those areas. But at the center of a roadway, you're dealing with restricted, so you might not be doing a complete U-turn, you might have to do point turns, which is now putting other drivers either obstructions, or you could potentially be hitting someone because you did your previous scan, but as you're doing your point turns, you're not checking again. So making sure you're checking for that, and you cannot do a U-turn at an alleyway intersection. So what does that leave us with?
Residential street.
Sign controlled intersection.
That's it, at a sign-controlled intersection. So at a sign-controlled intersection, you are legally allowed to complete a U-turn, but there are conditions with that U-turn. The conditions are you can see clearly down 100 meters each direction, and that you will not obstruct pedestrian, traffic, or other road users with this movement. If those conditions are met, you're able to complete your U-turn, and you're also watching for obviously no U-turns at that area signs. Good? So the correct answer is at a sign-controlled intersection. Then we have our safe changes of direction, so only perform a U-turn when legal and safe to do so. And consider going around the block as an option. Good. Number 2. Driver number 1 suddenly slams on the brakes to avoid colliding with the vehicle in front. Driver number 2 rear ends driver number 1. Who's at fault?
2.
Number 2 is usually at fault. That can be usually figured out in courts if they need to, but it'll majority go to the person driving behind. Number 3, all vehicles arrive at the same time. Who has the right of way at this uncontrolled intersection? Green car, everyone agree? Lovely, it is the green car. Who is next? Yellow is next, absolutely. What about this intersection? It's an uncontrolled intersection. Who has the right of way at this intersection? It is actually blue. Blue has the right of way at this intersection. At all cases, we want to practice right of way. Now I'm seeing some querying eyebrows here. Which I completely understand. A lot of drivers in Alberta do not practice the right-of-way rule. As an instructor, I'm trying to change that because it is listed in the Traffic Safety Act and it has been listed for several years. But the expectation is that if you're driving straight, that you would obviously get the right-of-way, but this is not true. We always want to yield at an intersection to the right. We want to give the ability to give that person the right of way, and this is just to maintain control because it is an uncontrolled intersection. It is an intersection, so we are stopping, we are waiting for the person to the right. Where will you commonly find uncontrolled intersections?
Huh?
Rural areas.
Rural areas. Where will you find uncontrolled intersections? What is an uncontrolled intersection?
No sign.
No sign. Plain and simple. 100%. So where will you find one?
Residential?
Residential in some side, small neighborhoods, you might have them where there's less traffic. There is one where you get lots of traffic. It still is under the Highway and Traffic Safety Act.
The parking lots?
Bingo bango. So parking lots have uncontrolled intersections, and this is usually where incidents take place. Now, you know why we practice the right-of-way rule at intersections?
Hmm.
You don't know why we practice the right-of-way rules?
To avoid accidents.
To avoid accidents, and how? What does it create? Or what should it create? Slower speed.
Understanding between all the cars in the street.
That's it. Consistency. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do at that intersection. That is what it's trying to create. Another rule that it applies for me is that we're trying to protect the driver on the right. Driver on the right has their driver's side exposed in the event of a T-bone incident. We want to make sure that we're keeping them safe, and we also want to practice the right-of-way rule. Now, what is the one situation other than people practicing in Alberta where we don't practice the right-of-way rule? or it's practice in the other direction, left away. Traffic circles. There you go. So in traffic circles, that'll be when you practice the person to the left has the right of way over you. So the one in the innermost lane would be able to exit while you would yield for that driver. That is the only time it changes. I want you to challenge yourself and try to practice this right of way rule in a parking lot. You're gonna get some really weird looks, and I'm sorry, but try to put your best foot forward. Try to give it a shot. And sometimes people will really appreciate that you give them the right of way because they know, but they just expect that people don't follow that rule anymore. Try to practice it, and then if you're in the situation where you're blue car and yellow car is coming at you, don't assume it. It's never assumed. Always accept right of way and then proceed. Don't just say, okay, guy's coming towards me, it's still kind of coming in hot, but I'm just gonna go anyway. In the art of tailgating, #YOLO, right? Yeah, that hurt me saying that one. But we're gonna be making a due regard of what's on that roadway. So we're gonna be watching what's on the left and as well on the right. If a vehicle's coming to the right, they should technically have right of way. So we let them go first, then we proceed, and then that blue car, that yellow car will proceed last. Good? There's a video talking about uncontrolled intersections here.
Another uncontrolled intersection to be aware of is the T intersection. A common mistake when approaching an uncontrolled T intersection is proceeding straight through the intersection and not yielding to the vehicle on the right. The correct approach is to slow down and be prepared to stop. Check for traffic approaching from all directions. The first vehicle to arrive at the intersection is the first to go through. If two or more vehicles arrive at the same time, the vehicle on the right should be given the right of way.
Okay, and so as it said, if you're the only person there, it's a yield. If you arrive a little bit before someone else, it is first come, first serve. If you arrive at the same time, that is when we practice the right of way rule. So you have to have that in your head, you have to know how to proceed through it. And best course of action, if I'm approaching any intersection and I notice that I'm gonna arrive at the same time, do you know what I'm gonna say that I do as a proactive strategy to make it easier? I slow down and I stop last. I stop next in the chain so they can proceed and there's no confusion and then I proceed afterwards. I don't mind waiting that extra few seconds, but I don't know about that. Lastly, why should you come to a complete stop at a stop sign?
Because it's a sign.
Because it's a sign, or more plainly said, it's the law, 100%, absolutely. What other reasons?
People expect you to stop.
People expect you to stop, and what are you trying to prevent? Driving into anyone driving, or pedestrian, or cyclist, or mom in carriage, or kid with a ball, or dog, or cat, or squirrel, or tennis ball, or skateboard, whatever it is, you're looking out for them. Make sense? 100%. That's what we're doing. Right there. It's the law. There we go. Last one here, or is it the last one? You say the last one. So many more. Sorry. Page 23. You're driving on a city street that has double solid yellow lines with no brakes in it. What does this mean for you as a driver?
You can't cross them.
Can't cross under any circumstance. It doesn't matter if your house is on the other side of that double yellow solid line. You cannot cross that line, or you just risk a ticket if you're ever caught. That's really it. But it's in the book, you should not be crossing that line. If you do have a double solid yellow line in front of your house, I hate that for yourself, but make a claim to your municipalities and see if they can change that to, I don't know, an opening for you. That's the only time you're able to cross it. There's an opening in that line. Next up, still green light. You're approaching an intersection. The light is still green, but you notice the pedestrian wait light is flashing. What are at least 3 things that you should do?
Be prepared to stop.
Be prepared to stop,
Off the accelerator.
and
Hovering the brakes.
and then what else should I do?
Check your view.
Thank you so much. Check your rearview mirror, 100%. Check your pedestrian signals, check your rearview mirror, ease up off the gas, and then be ready to apply brakes, or better known as covering the brakes. Our next one here, the traffic light turns yellow as you're about to enter the intersection. What should you do? B. Everyone agree with that?
Continue through the intersection if it's clear.
That is correct. It is actually going to be D. Continue through the intersection if it is clear to do so. Now, it doesn't specify distances, but do you remember what the distance is roughly from the first intersection line? 3 car lengths of your personal vehicle. So whatever the size of that is, you just imagine that on the roadway. If you are before that imaginary zone, you're going to come to a stop because you have more than enough time to stop. If that you are within the zone and that light turns yellow, then you will practice the point of continuance and clear through if it is safe to do so. We still practice the last clear chance rule here. So if you notice that drivers are coming in front of your lane, making that left turn while you're continuing straight, slow yourself down, let them proceed, and then your right is to continue through the intersection because you're not going to stop in the intersection. You will proceed and clear when it's safe to do so. Make sense? Bang on. Next one up, we have you're driving in a school zone. The vehicle in front of you is driving at 10 kilometers an hour. Can you pass that vehicle? And this is the situation, say, we're on a 4-lane roadway on a playground zone or school zone. So there is 2 lanes. Are you able to pass? Under no circumstances. The reason for it, what if that vehicle is seeing a kid playing with a ball or picking up a kid and the kid is going to cross the road or whatever? That vehicle sees something, they're slowing down, so you should be doing the exact same thing. There's no passing under any circumstances. Unless there is extra circumstances, I'm so sorry. If that vehicle is pulled over and it cannot, if it's not moving, so it has its hazard lights off or on, or it's currently off, waiting for a tow, whatever it is, because that happens, you would be passing, but you would be passing with caution. 5 kilometers when you're passing through it, just to make sure that if there's a situation, you can stop right away. And we're all done with that. Now we're going to be talking about playgrounds and school zones. So, school zones in effect on school days only during these times. What are those times for school zones?
8:30 till 9, or in the major is half hour before sunrise and after sunset.
Not quite. That's playground zone, but I want school zone.
In a school time?
School time. What is school time? They don't have them in Edmonton, but they have them in rural areas.
8:30 till 9:30.
Mine's 8. Mine was 8:10 to like 2:50. Like,
It's different.
every
100%
is
is
different.
And municipalities are different, but Alberta in specific, I'll give you the answer because it's not common, but 8 till 9:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., and then 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Now this is confusing for drivers because it's also only in effect for when school is in effect, right? So if there's a holiday on, that school zone might not be in effect at all, so it's all relative to when class is in session. What did they do to change that confusion in Calgary and Edmonton?
Playground zones.
Playground zones. Everything switched to playground zones. So that goes on to our next question. In Alberta, what are our playground zones?
Sorry.
That's Edmonton. That's Edmonton.
Which one?
For Alberta.
Oh.
What?
8:30 to 1 hour after.
There you go. 8:30 a.m. until 1 hour after sunset is the answer for that one. In Edmonton, what is it? 7:30 to 9. 100%. Very nice. Next one up, we have the vehicle control. So this graph is a graph that's just showing your capabilities after potentially today's course, but also just throughout the entire week. You felt what it was like going through a evasive maneuver, where you're supposed to be looking, how you're supposed to be reacting, the way that you're using your brake, the way that you're using your steering wheel. You have better control. Utilize it. It's a skill now. Practice it whenever you can. I didn't ask you to do it, but I wish we had more time to do it. But acknowledge your own hand position. I see a lot of drivers drive like this, drive like this, drive like this, drive like that, drive like that. I've seen so many funky things, and I've also driven with people before I came to this job who taught me how not to drive. How you drive personally is how you drive, but I want you to just recognize in the event of an emergency, if you want to get home safe, you want to get your passengers home safe, or your partner, whatever it is, keep your hands on the steering wheel at 9 and 3 because it'll give you the best control. And you felt it on the track. What that speed, what that feeling, what that weight of the vehicle can have on your vehicle, that pressure. Can you do that with one hand? Potentially you could, but it's a 50-50. It's a risk. You could lose control, you could lose a grasp on that steering wheel, which could cause you to lose control. 9 and 3, you avoid that effectively by having 100% control with both of your hands. Driving an emergency situation. So this is asking what you should do in the event of an emergency. So I'll give you an example. Brake. So what else do you think you should do in an emergency situation?
Look where you want to go.
Off the gas, look where you want to go. I love that. Anything else?
Mirror check.
Yes, rearview mirror check. It doesn't actually have it in there, but I want you to be checking your rearview mirror check. Absolutely. Anything else? I love these answers, but it's not the answers that they have on the screen. It should be. What they have on the screen is maintain speed in road position, brake, steer, accelerate, steer and brake, brake and steer, accelerate and steer.
Specifically maneuvers.
So why does it have this? What did they say at the track? Well, the people that were with me. What did they say that you didn't want to do?
Excellent.
Hmm?
Manuals?
I don't know.
Maybe all of this.
Well, what are you answering? Who are you in the truck? What?
All
Everybody
my-
doesn't know. Maybe I just didn't explain it well enough. I'm sorry. We want to do one thing at a time. We don't want to do a combination of things. So we don't want to steer and brake at the same time. We don't want to brake or steer and accelerate at the same time because we don't have the same level of control. We want to do one action and then the other. On certain conditions can we do it, but that's with control and with understanding the situation. So I would recommend at times, maybe you would want to accelerate and steer at the same time because you're acknowledging that your back end needs to swing into your lane. That could be a potential thing that you're worrying about. But there's a time and place for it. But in most cases, I want you to do one action and then the other, not a combination of both. Because with it, you have a loss of control. Okay.
What stops the vehicle?
So this one, what stops the vehicle?
Brakes.
Nope.
You.
Nope.
The engine.
Nope.
The force.
Nope.
Vehicle before you?
Friction.
Nope.
Friction? That's
Nope.
a good one.
Not friction.
Give us a hint.
Your mindset.
Wait, I heard it. Who said it?
Yes.
No, not your ABS. Sorry, I heard something else.
Your mindset?
No, not your mindset.
Oh.
Okay.
What stops the vehicle?
The wall.
No. Well,
The
yes.
car.
Sorry.
Actually.
All these answers are lovely. You can stop the vehicle, but we're looking for a very specific answer. What stops the
Right.
vehicle truly?
Gravitation?
No.
Handbrake.
No. What do we check in our pre-trip? In our-
Brake pattern.
No.
Wheels. Tires.
Tires. That's it. Tires stop the vehicle. 100%. Why was I being so specific about it? Why didn't I just take, I don't know, brakes as an answer?
I guess brakes stop the tires moving.
100%. If you have bald tires, you might not stop effectively. When was that going to go?
Brakes stop the tires, and the tires would stop the vehicle.
Exactly right. You can have amazing race brakes on, but if you're driving on rims and not any tread, are you stopping effectively?
Yeah.
You're stopping your rims from moving, but you're not stopping effectively. You have to have tread. You have to have proper tread for the situation. Same thing happens for your seasons and your weather conditions. So the true answer to what stops your vehicle is the tire. Now we're going to be talking about our braking. This has a video about the difference between cadence, threshold, ABS, and tire lockup. But we have the differences. So we have our traditional pumping, which is what my pop taught me. Don't do that, or you're going to get into a situation. But every other situation, every other type of braking style is effective. But the most effective, what is it? Threshold. Practice threshold whenever you can. We're going to watch this video.
You may wonder what this punching bag has to do with advanced driving.
Yes, I do,
I'm
Ron.
going to use this punching bag to illustrate the different braking techniques used for stopping. We're going to teach you to take the panic out of panic stop. Out on the track, we mark the line where the brakes will always be applied. And during these various tests, the braking car will always approach at the same speed. The first technique, known as threshold braking, needs a very sensitive touch on the brake pedal, releasing pressure just a bit when the tires begin to skid. Keep the tires right on the threshold of locking up. We've marked the threshold braking stop point with a punching bag. Now we'll see how the car stops during a four-wheel lockdown. This is the technique which comes naturally in a panic stop. Slam on the brakes and lock up all four wheels. As a way to stop in a straight line, it's not bad, but there's a big trade-off. You can't steer when the wheels are locked. Well, not only did we hit the punching bag, but did you notice we had no steering after the brakes were applied and the wheels locked? Well, that tells us all we need to know about locking up the brakes. Definitely not a good idea. Imagine if that surface was ice or gravel. Finally, let's look at cadence braking. This is a strategy some drivers use to avoid lockup. We've marked the point where four-wheel lockup stops us. And now, let's look at cadence braking. Cadence braking, or pumping the brakes, is a technique that's really fallen out of favor with the experts. It tries to avoid lockup by getting on and off the brakes. The result is a car that bobs up and down like a porpoise. It's hard to steer, and a poor stopping distance can be deadly. Well, I think that tells us all we need to know about cadence braking. Definitely not a good idea. But finally, let's look at anti-lock braking systems, an attempt by auto manufacturers to give some of the benefits of threshold braking. With ABS, you can brake hard, your wheels won't lock up, and you can still steer. We've also seen that with threshold braking and four-wheel lockup, the difference in stopping distance isn't that great, but you lose control. And like everything else with driving, maintaining control is what it's all about. Maintaining control is everything.
Make sense? You practice it, you notice the difference. If you're driving an older vehicle, just recognize that you might still have no ABS in the system, so you might deal with lockup. You know how we deal with lockup?
Ease off the brake.
Ease off the brake. Let your vehicle have the potential to steer if you need to steer, and then back on the brake, reapply pressure. For threshold, keep your heel on the floor, apply steady, firm pressure on the brake. If the wheels lock or you feel that vibration kick in, lightly let off and then reapply pressure at a steady pace just to keep finding that bite point. You want to stop effectively and you want to stop quick. That's your main objective. Now we're going to be watching stuff about power skidding. So what was the driver's error that caused the skid is what I want you to answer. I'll also just ask you through it, so don't worry about that as well. There we go. Also in Calgary.
Oh. You almost recovered it.
You want to do a cool drift for it?
No, it would have been a cool drift if we maintained it.
Definitely an impressive passenger for that move. That they did. Now,
Can you watch it again?
why did that take place? Sure, you can watch it again. 100%. Please. What caused it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Maybe accelerated too
So number one, acceleration was definitely an effect. He accelerated through the turn. You saw the way that his back tires kicked out. It's a rear-wheel drive vehicle, so the back tires started kicking out. He was responding pretty effectively. He was doing what?
Steering where you wanted to go.
Steering where he wanted to go. You can see that in the steering wheel. But what went wrong?
fast. Locked his wheels.
He locked his wheels, and then he also, at the very end, what did he apply?
The brakes.
He applied the brakes, which made the skid worse. Siri, what the hell? But locked up the brakes, which made, or used the brakes, which made the situation worse. What could he have done?
You should put on the gas to where you wanted to go and steer with it.
100%, or just not approach that turn at a hot speed. He was having probably fun, but now his fun led him to be in the opposite direction, and most likely with an illegal U-turn after getting into that situation. It's what it is, but it puts people at risk. Don't be that guy. Be safe. Take your turns at safe speeds, especially with winter conditions. You have to play around. Be smart about it. Pick an empty road, not this road. But I will just not recommend you do that in general. What should you do if your tire or vehicle goes into a skid?
Steer where you want to
Steer where you want to go.
Take your foot off the gas.
Take your foot off the gas.
Back it off the brake, it's okay.
Stay off the brakes. Good stuff. Okay, and now oversteer and understeer definitions. So our oversteer, do any of you know what oversteering is? Oversteering occurs not so much when we just do too much steering, but occurs when the rear tires lose traction, causing the back of the vehicle to spin out. Now with that, Rear tires to spin out is either caused by excessive acceleration, excessive steering, which might cause that back tire to kick out, like when you're doing a curve on the road. You're steering too fast, too hard, and you get to a back tire spin out. What about understeer?
Where the front wheels lose traction?
100%. When does that happen usually? It can happen on like clovers entering a highway. Like I call them clovers, or those big things.
Oh, okay.
Clovers. Occurs when the front tires lose traction, which may cause you to miss a curve. So you're steering where you need to go, but now your vehicle's just kind of shredding asphalt and just going in the direction that you were originally going in. I know which video on it. It's Ron again. I love Ron.
Whenever speed and traction fall outside of safe limits, skids are likely to occur. If traction is low, skids are possible even at low speeds. If traction is high, speed also needs to be high for skids to occur.
Now here's one of the most frightening experiences a driver can have. You're halfway through a turn and your vehicle is no longer responding. It wants to go straight. You're in a front wheel skid. Good chance you're headed for trouble.
Most front wheel skids are caused by entering the corner too fast. How fast is too fast? Well, it depends on the car, the tires, and most importantly, road condition and speed. In this demonstration, it's a beautiful day and the road is dry. I'm trying to round a tight corner at high speed. It can't be done. There's a popular misconception that if you get in a skid with a front wheel drive car, just put your foot on the gas and it will pull you through. Well, that just doesn't work. The last thing you need here is more speed. Here you can see it. I trim the wheels, the tires can't handle the load, and they lose traction, skidding sideways straight off the road. Let's face it, if you're in this situation, you've really got your hands full. The best thing you can do now is ease off the gas and gently steer. Of course, the best way to deal with a front wheel skid is to anticipate it. Anticipate it and slow down before you have to deal with the emergency. But even if you're caught by surprise, you can still play a part in your own safety. It's a matter of knowing what to do. So remember, it's off the gas, gently steer. You can find yourself in a rear wheel skid in one of two ways. Braking and turning at the same time will do it, sending the tail of your car into a skid. Accelerating too hard through a corner or going too fast when the road is slippery will also do it. Here you see it. The rear wheels can't handle the dual requirements of pushing the vehicle forward and turning the corner, and they break free, causing the rear of the vehicle to continue out of the turn. Either way, there's only one right way to recover. Take your foot off the gas, don't touch the brakes. Brakes will only make it worse. No matter what the rear end is doing, look and steer where you want to go. Sometimes both the front and rear wheels break free, sending the vehicle off the road, like a projectile. Once this happens, you're at the mercy of physics until the wheels regain traction.
How do you get out of any skid? It's simple. Take your foot off the gas, stay away from the brakes, and look and steer where you want to go.
Good stuff. Perfect. Question, how can you prevent a skid? You just said it.
That's
Off the
probably.
gas, don't use the brakes.
Yes, thank you. Keep your tires properly inflated is one of them. Drive at appropriate speeds. Brake prior to curbs. Use smooth braking and acceleration, and driving tracks up by other vehicles could also assist you. Now, this doesn't assist you all the time with winter conditions, because what happens to some tracks? Disappear. I'm more looking for like when it's being used a lot. Maybe it's starting to melt and then freezing over. Exactly right. You get icy. So use those tracks. Like identify it if it's packed snow. Yeah, drive on the tracks. It could cause you to have better traction. But if you notice that there's a gliss and it's kind of icy, be aware that it could also be a sketchy situation. Now, tire blowout. When or what can happen if you apply the brakes when the front tires blow out? Did you experience this in the simulator? tire blow up?
Pulls the vehicle to that side.
It pulls the vehicle to that direction. Is exactly right. So the reaction that I want you to do is what? Control it. So off the brake, off the gas, look and steer where you want to go. This is going to be a very reoccurring situation for almost all of our situations. Just look at where you want to go and off the gas, off the brake. And just be ready for that tire because it's going to pull in that direction as well. So holding a steady position in your lane is super important. How often should you check the tire pressure when using a tire gauge? At least once a month is absolutely correct. And then, what is the minimum legal tire tread depth?
Huh?
Minimum?
1.6 millimeters.
You never said.
1.6 millimeters.
1.5.
1.6. Good stuff. And on those tires, I think I tried pointing it out to you. We were like messing around with other people's tires and stuff. But you're gonna have a wear bar or a tread bar. That's gonna be usually in the middle of the grooves. When your tire tread is in line with that tread bar, time to get going with that tire. That's the physical situation that they have on the tires. It's very helpful in case you don't have a multimeter of any kind to kind of get that distance or count multimeter with the tread meter. Tire inflation. If we don't have our tire properly inflated, we could be dealing with all of the following. So under our crown or the center of our tread could be off of, and we could have tire imbalance come through sets of driving. Proper, you could have all tread on the ground, and then over, you'll only have the center contact. It is very hard to identify if your tire is creating proper tread contact with the roadway. So it's important to do that gauge test with a multi or with a meter and check your PSI because that is the only way that you can confirm. It could also be due to misalignment with your vehicles, could cause you to have improper tread contact on the road. So make sure you're just keeping up with maintenance for your own personal vehicles. Collision avoidance. Here's this. This is going to be a recurring stuff, our recurring one here. So SIFTY, please practice it. Again, what is it? Loud and clear. Yes, yes, perfect, thank you. Commentary, hazard awareness, what I want you to do. So when I said I was a bit of a psycho and I, drive quietly with no music, no nothing, I talk out loud, I verbalize what I see on the road and assess in levels of hazards. I increase awareness of hazards by doing this. I build a stronger foundation for my basic habits. And then it promotes a safe and controlled space when I'm in the vehicle, especially when I'm going through a tough time. So SIFTY search, we're gonna go through our video here. We're gonna point out, I'm gonna pause every once in a while, and I'm gonna ask you what you see. I want you to determine everything that could be a potential risk or what you would be looking out for. Oops. There you go. So right off the bat, what do we acknowledge?
Car reversing.
Car reversing, absolutely. What is that vehicle also doing while it's reversing or while it's in that position as a POV driver? Can you see past that car? So it's an obstruction. Being careful. There's not a situation where we know that there's someone behind there, but we are ready for it if it's obstructing. This could be the case for an ambulance when you're driving an ambulance. Some people might not know or might not be aware of someone also backing up at the same time you are. Maybe giving a honk to let that driver know, don't back up because there's someone like right behind me. Is a pretty good method. What else do we notice about this roadway?
Are the walking lights on?
Walking lights are active, 100%. Absolutely. Good scan. Anything else?
2 yellow lines.
Double yellow lines and oncoming traffic, absolutely. We have brakes in the double solid yellow line, so what does that mean for us?
Left turns are available.
At that point in period, absolutely. But we have to acknowledge the pedestrian crosswalk light. What do we do with pedestrian crosswalk lights?
Slow down to 30.
Does it matter if there's a pedestrian there? Does not. Continue 30, perfect. What else do we acknowledge on this roadway?
Stop sign. With the car back.
Car backing to the right, very, very hard to see until the very last minute. Be aware of it. I'm sure you already scanned for those vehicles ahead of time, but that's what I want you to be looking for. As soon as you see it, you're acknowledging it. Hey, is that person going to just gun on out? Should I be prepared? Should I be looking for evasive maneuvers? In that situation, if that blue car backed out, what escape option do you have?
Stop.
You can stop. You could honk, give a polite honk to let them know that you're cruising by. You could also, in the event that they're just going to pull out, you don't have enough time to stop.
Swerve around.
swerve around them. It's illegal to go through a double solid yellow line unless you're responding to an event or emergency, right? So you can cross over that line, but make sure that you're not going to be obstructing traffic. That's what your safety scan is, to identify that ahead of time for these situations. And we can see they swerved slightly. What else can we identify about this roadway? Forward stop.
No U-turn.
No U-turns. 30 max. So as soon as you see those signs, you're assessing it, you're acknowledging it right away. What else do we see?
Truck coming out.
Truck coming out. POV drivers leaving some nice space. What else do we notice? They just,
Someone walking across.
good stuff. Acknowledge that as soon as you see it. Just know that pedestrians are crossing. What else do we see?
Lights are acting.
She walked with that.
People were active on the walk. Did anyone notice the red car with the reverse lights after that truck moved?
No.
That's what you're looking for. As soon as that one truck moves, you're acknowledging for any other ones that back up, so that's that red car, making sure that there's no one in your way. Okay. Now we're going to be watching a crash avoidance video. We'll talk about it afterwards.
Could this crash have been avoided? Although failure to yield right of way is a contributing factor in approximately 30% of the motor vehicle crashes that occur in urban areas, most are avoidable. As you know, driver readiness is an essential component of crash avoidance driving. In this scene, the alert driver of the black coupe evaded the crash by applying a controlled brake and executing a quick right turn.
He wanted to do.
So that's that example of not just braking, because you could try to brake, but you might not stop in time, no matter the braking method that you use. So a combination, brake and steer, to shorten the length of your nose. Realize that this could be something that you have to do in the future, especially when you have your sirens active. This could be a very real response for you. Some people are not ready for your vehicle, or they're not expecting you, and might obstruct your path, and you have to respond quick, because you're still able to be found liable if you weren't practicing your due diligence of looking up the roadway or practicing an adequate following distance for what's ahead of you. You could still be found liable as an ambulance operator, emergency vehicle operator. So just be aware of that. Collision management. This is going to be on page 35-36 for some information on our restraint systems. So our restraint systems are examples. Excuse me. Seatbelts, head restraints, airbags. What are these examples of? Well, what is the head restraint and airbags? What do we call those? There was, okay, passive or active safety feature?
Active.
Passive. So once it's set, so once you have your set on it, it's going to activate, and you don't have to press a button to make sure it works. A seatbelt is a form of an active. You have to put it on so that it can do its job properly. You're responsible to use these properly and to ensure maximum protection and that they're effective. So same thing with the steering position, that double finger, that 25 centimeters, you want to have that distance away from the steering wheel so that airbag deploys and it does not harm us. It does not hit our rib cage and make us terrible, make us hurt. It has to be at the correct distance so it functions as a pillow, as a brace for yourself. You're stopped at an intersection, you see that the vehicle behind you is not slowing down, which you need to minimize the damage if you're hit from behind. We talked about this earlier. You could move forward a little bit if there's no car in front of you, but if there is a car in front of you, you have a safe space, I want you to maintain that space, but what else should you do?
Put on the brake, make sure your head's on the headrest.
That's it. Look for a potential way of an escape, but if not, increase pressure on the brake pedal, press your head firmly against the head restraint, and then select escape route if possible. Avoiding a head-on collision in the next video here.
It's early morning and you're driving down a two-lane highway. In the distance, you see a car approaching in your lane at high speed. You think the driver might be drunk or asleep. You frantically honk your horn, but the car does not move out of your lane. A head-on collision appears imminent. What is your best course of action? A. Slow down and carefully move to the left. B. Slow down and pull off to the right. C. Stop as quickly as possible and stay in your lane, waiting for the other car to react and move back into its proper lane. D. Turn hard to the left so the oncoming vehicle will strike the side of your car instead of hitting it head on.
This is a toughie because I've taught you some different practices, but what do you think is the best situation?
D.
D, B. The other ones, think about it in your head and hold on to your reply.
The answer is B. First, reduce your speed as much as possible and wait as long as possible to pull out of your lane. Then, pull as far to the right as you can. If necessary, drive clear off the road. If you have to hit something, aim for something soft such as shrubbery. Going off the road is not without risk. There is a possibility you may be injured. But in most cases, any choice is better than a head-on collision, where the risk of serious injury is greater. So move to the right.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to play chicken? Why would you want to play chicken with the vehicle coming towards you at whatever speed, X amount of speed, rather than just pulling to the left or pulling into the ditch just right off the bat?
If you pull into the left,
They might respond. Absolutely. So if they respond, what do you think their first reaction is going to be? Go off to the right where they're supposed to be. So if you're going to the left, you could potentially be hit. And you want to play that game of chicken is what they say, because you're giving them that ample time. You want to be slowing down ahead of time, reducing the likeliness of a huge collision, reducing it down to a minimum, and then you want to swerve at the last minute to either be hit from the side or move into the ditch for stopping your vehicle. Now, it said anything soft, so bushes, long grass, I don't know what else is soft, pylons. You could be running into that. Doesn't mean you run into a person. People are soft. Don't run into people. Plain and simple, okay? Make sense? That makes sense?
you
Nodding
say
heads, please.
people are soft, so you.
That's what
you
I'm
should-
saying. Don't think I
Yeah,
that's what I'm
you
saying.
should
Do
break
not
the
run into
people, not the.
They are
not
soft,
going
and there's
to
a
listen.
one situation that I do not want you to run into. Don't run into people.
Okay.
Good. Next one up, collision management strategies. Never hit anything head on. Drive off the road rather than skid off the road. Whenever possible, hit something that gives rather than something that's a fixed object. Hit stationary objects with a glancing bolt and dodge trouble to the right, away from the oncoming traffic as a general rule. Sometimes we can't practice that general rule. We practiced that on Thursday with the jackknife semi, that incident where we have to go to the left. There are incidents where we have to do that because our shoulder is not applicable. We might be on a sheer drop off a mountain if we choose the right side. So if you have to choose the left, make it brief, make it quick. Acknowledge ahead of time with your safety scan of what you can do in an emergency situation, and leave the left lane for a last course of action. Now we're going to talk about hazard lights and emergency triangles. So, hazard lights should be activated when?
When?
When should they be activated?
During an emergency.
For an emergency. When you're obstructing traffic, if your engine quits, activate your hazard so people know something's happening with your vehicle. Or when you're pulled off on the side of the road, right? Is there any other case that you may personally use hazard lights?
When somebody calling, I always push them down and go to right from the highway.
With your hazard lights?
Yeah, because I don't want to take call on the 110. I just go to the back with a hazard, yeah.
I'm confused. Wait, say that again. Say that again.
I'm going 100.
Yes.
Somebody calling. It's almost always urgent. I don't want to answer. I just turn the hazard.
Oh,
turn
pull
right.
off onto the shoulder.
Yeah.
You complete your call or whatever.
Yeah,
On the shoulder.
when I completely stopped.
Okay. It's good that you do that as long as you're pulled over. Main thing that I wanted to make sure is that you do not use your hazards while driving. Why would I not want you to use your hazards while driving?
Because nobody knows when you turn and
That's
when
it.
you stop.
Yes. On particular vehicles, especially with older vehicles, they use one bulb. I'm thinking about Ram 1500s from like 2008. Usually maybe a little bit older as well. They use one bulb. for their brake lights and their tail lights or their turn signals. Same thing happens with some tow trucks or some ambulances. Older units have that one bulb before they were upgraded to have different signal lights for their whatevers. But for those situations, I want you to recognize if your vehicle only has one bulb, make sure you do not activate your hazards in the event of seeing traffic slowing down ahead of you, because then traffic might not be able to tell where you're going to signal, what direction you're going to take, or even see that the brake is active because your hazard lights override that feature. And then triangles, 30 meters ahead and 30 meters behind your vehicle whenever you're pulled over, if they are equipped in a commercial vehicle. Now we're going to talk about the impairments. We have on page 38. Okay, really briefly, can you tell me what you can be discharged or charged for distraction-wise in Alberta? Cell phone? Eating or drinking?
Can you be charged for GPS on your phone?
Yes, you can, absolutely. If you're inputting information while you're driving, or
Just
you're
looking at it though?
looking at it as well.
Okay.
At your phone, if it's somewhere up high, there's a pad. It's dependent on the officer, honestly. But beyond that side, anything else? I've seen people do this, and it's outrageous to me, but they put down their thing, and they open up the mirror, and they're like squeezing a pimple, or like brushing their teeth, or like doing whatever. Don't do that. So no personal grooming is the word. There we go. So no personal grooming while you're in the vehicle and driver's seat. Obviously, you're obstructing your view. Anything else? Talked about it earlier.
Drinking?
Huh?
Phone calls.
Phone calls as well could be considered a distraction. So if you have your phone in your hand making a call, or even an officer, they can usually hear drinking as well. Absolutely, any form. So using a cell phone, electronic device, putting information on the GPS units. It just says entering. So I would imagine following or looking at officers should give you a pass. Reading or writing, personal grooming, and then the next ones that you could be charged for would be eating, drinking, smoking cigarettes, or playing music. So that's putting in music, getting a CD and inserting it, or blasting it. They can hear that you're bumping tunes. What can that lead to?
You can't hear sirens.
I can't hear sirens. There was an incident. I was doing a driver eval for a company, and this driver was excellent. Gave him probably my best grade because he was just a very, very good driver. He was observant, and for that day, he delivered a very good course. A week later, he had gotten into a collision, and that collision took place because he's in a big 5-ton unit. There's a lot of noise that's taking place. And he said on that particular day, it was very hot out, so he had his AC blasting. No music playing in the vehicle, but he had his AC blasting. He had a full-blown load in the back of his truck. And he said he was driving on one of the main artery roadways here in Edmonton, and he could not hear a siren that was coming from the opposing direction. So he was heading south to north, and there was an ambulance going from east to west. And so he couldn't hear it. He was just looking at traffic, and he said all of a sudden, the vehicle in front slammed on the brakes hard. And he's in a larger vehicle, probably following just the minimum following distance. And so when he tried to brake, smush, hit the car in front of him. Now, he was practicing his habits, he said. He was doing what he needed to do, but that change of that fan, of that noise can definitely affect. So that is a distraction. That is something that could affect you. If you have those situations, monitor it. Make sure that you have maybe the window cracked a little bit so you can still hear things that are coming outside. But also, if you're a driver and you're dealing with a truck behind you, recognize that. So drag out your brakes. Have a following distance that's larger, and don't just react with a hard stop. That's why they say check your rearview mirror every single time that you anticipate using brake pedals to avoid that situation. Now we're talking about impaired driving. Any questions on that previous part? We're good? 100%. Impaired driving. This is going to be on page 39. Oh, it's right there. Oopsies. So, criminal offense that you can be charged for, and this is going to be talking about for .08 is in Alberta as well as federally. So you can be charged for both. It's going to be .08 or higher blood alcohol concentration. Then for cannabis, 2 to 5 nanograms of tetrahydrocannabinol. And then your alcohol and cannabis combination of 0.05 BAC and at least 2 nanograms of THC in your system is permitted before you'll be charged for that offense. 1 in 10 drivers fatally collision was legally impaired. Be out of that statistic. And now we're actually going to be talking about the penalties themselves. We had a touch base on this on Monday. We're just going to cruise through this one again, but you need to know your effects. So, federal penalties with no bodily harm. You'll be charged with a minimum $1,000 fine. Your second offense, 30 days imprisonment. And then your third offense, with subsequent, is going to be 100 days imprisonment minimum. You can be sure that your insurances and everything is also going to be going to tank as well. So this is just for your provincial. So you could be serving jail time, which could definitely affect your job. Charged with bodily harm, summary conviction of maximum 2 years, and then with an indictment, maximum 14 years, and then charged with death, you're dealing with charged for life or maximum life imprisonment. Your next one here, you stopped by a police officer and asked to provide a preliminary breath sample. Are you required to provide the sample?
No.
No, you are not required to provide the sample. Should you?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. If you refuse, then you're going to be charged as if you blew 0.08 or above, and you're going to take all the penalties that come with it. So it's just best to do the sample. They say yes, but we know the answer is no. It's just in your best interest to take the breathalyzer sample.
Is there going to be a question on the test where we should answer yes to that?
No. Yeah, you're fine there. It has 100 questions, but it doesn't have that question. So your immediate roadside actions. This is going to be the Warren program. Damn, I heard nothing from this room. We're not going to have 100 question test for today. That's absurd. So for the Warren program, we're dealing with a 0.05 to 0.079 in the Warren program, and then for your failed program is going to be anything above what? Yes, 0.08. And this is with the combination with BAC and your tetrahydrol, which is the 2 to 4 nanograms in your system. Your IRS, anyone here class 5 GDL?
GDL, no.
Okay, absolutely. So this one is going to apply. This is going to be the class 7 for 30 days license suspension, immediate vehicle seizure of 7 days. So please do not be driving anyone else's vehicle or your work vehicle for that matter and get pulled over for DUI. It's crazy business. And then driver is liable for a fine, no escalating penalties, and you just need to hold your license suspension free for another year before being eligible to exit the program. No content whatsoever is allowed in your system. Your IRS Warren program. This is going to be the 0.5 to 0.079 or 0.05, 0.079. So your immediate license suspension of 3 days, immediate vehicle seizure of 3 days, and then your driver is liable for a fine, most likely demerits off your license, and yada yada with your insurance as well is going to be included. Your second offense, Warren, is going to be 15 days license suspension, 7 days vehicle seizure, and you are liable for a fine, and you have to take a crossroads course. You might be coming here to AMA for that course. And then your Warren program for your third suspension, and after that, subsequential is going to be 30 days license suspension, 7 days vehicle seizure, and you're liable for a fine and an impact course. Next one up is the fail program. So this is anything above a 0.08. You're going to be dealing with constant numbers here, which is going to be the 90 days license suspension and then 30 days vehicle seizure. Again, it does not matter whose vehicle you're driving. You're going to be taking a planning ahead course that you pay out of pocket, that you have to set up yourself, and that you have to attend. You're going to be doing 12 months ignition interlocked, and then after suspension, you'll be receiving a fine as well. Or you'll receive the ignition interlocked after your vehicle seizure and suspension. And then you'll be receiving a fine. Now, I can't remember. I think we talked about. We know what an ignition interlocked is, right? You know what you have to do when you hear that beeper. You have to blow into it. If you do not blow into it, your vehicle shuts off. Period. So for our second and third offenses, we're dealing with 90 days license suspension, vehicle seizure as well for 30 days. And the only difference for this one is that we have our 36-month ignition interlock after suspension, as well as a criminal code charge is added on to that as well. Remember that it's not just this you're dealing with, you're also dealing with the criminal code charge from the federal government. So you're getting a nice sandwich. Your third offense, 90 days license suspension, 30 days vehicle seizure, and then impact force. Again, lifetime ignition interlock, your insurance rates are going to be out of the roof, your suspension is going to be, or your interlock is going to be after suspension, fine, and then criminal code charge. Make sense? Perfect. Safety technology. So we talked about technologies last time. We talked about how we like them and what we might have in our vehicle. Can you tell me again what safety technologies that you have in your vehicle? And it's going to be on page 42, by the way, where you can write it down.
Airbags,
Your airbags to keep you safe in the event of a collision. ABS, absolutely. Blind spot detection and headrest restraint, absolutely.
lane assist,
Lane assist is awesome. And how does lane assist work?
keeps you
It keeps you straight, but what does it use? What do you have to have clean? Sensors, 100%. That's how those work. Anything else that you like in your vehicle, safety technology wise?
Backup camera.
Backup camera, absolutely. Should you be dependent on your backup camera? You should be using our shoulder checks, looking through our rear view window. We should also be looking in our mirrors, and then we can use the backup camera as well. It's an added technology. It's there for your safety and for your usage, so use it. Anything else?
Parking sensors.
Parking sensors, 100%, absolutely.
Cruise control.
Cruise control, regular or adaptive cruise control are awesome situations that you can have in your vehicle. And what can prevent technologies from working?
Huh?
What can prevent technologies from working?
temperature, sometimes cold.
Sometimes cold, they can obstruct the sensors, or it just might not work for winter conditions.
Faulty battery.
Faulty battery could be it, or another word for it. We have a whole compartment under the engine.
Alternator.
Alternator could affect it. Fuses, there we go, absolutely. So check your fuses when you're looking for your safety technologies. If you're having any issues with any of the settings that you have, refer to your owner's manual online on Google, or check the underside of your fuse box. It'll have a map with the numbers, and you can Google search and find what fuse is pre-existing for what feature. And what else could prevent the technology from working? In our DDC, it was 3 circles. Vehicle, environment,
Driver.
and the driver. The driver can prevent technologies from working. So we don't activate it, or if we ignore safety features, that could potentially cause the safety feature to not work. In vehicle activities, we are not doing this, we're not doing this, and we are not doing this. And we're not doing this, and we're not doing this, and
We're done.
we're done!
Thank
We're
you.
done!
So
Bless me, yes, that's how I feel, free, right? Okay, so now we're